Mongraal and Mr. Savage are back and playing an FNCS together, but there's one problem. Mongraal hasn't played competitively seriously for the last 2 years, and they're playing the hardest region in the world. So can they make an FNCS Grand Final? Mr. Savage, who's a multi-time FNCS Grand Finalist, but not a winner, matched up with one of Fortnite's most prolific and most popular players who won an FNCS Grand Final 3 years ago. So can it be done? In Mongraal's first official duo tournament, he has already surpassed a lot of players' expectations and qualified to the Duo Cash Cup finals in great fashion. And this wasn't one of those qualifications where you just dropped a 50 bomb in your last game to qualify, like Mitro, but rather a consistent effort across 10 games they played, even so much as to qualify relatively early going into the last game. So how did this happen? Now the glaring issue here is Mongraal's lack of competitive experience in the last 2 years. Mr. Savage, who qualified one of the biggest lands in Fortnite since the World Cup, has been consistent within competitive for the last 2 years, racking up multiple grand finals. However, in those grand finals and in Copenhagen of the last chapter, performances with Deal were rather lackluster, but still showed potential for a lot more room to grow. In the games of Duo Cash Cup, it did become very apparent how understandably uncomfortable Mongraal would be in those stacked endgames. Muscle memory, game sense, and confidence in these late games requires hours and hours of practice and consistency, which is something Mongraal hasn't done yet. But that makes sense considering he hasn't played competitive for 2 years. So how did it work this time? How did Mongraal and Mr. Savage make it to a Duo Cash Cup final all of a sudden? Well, it all depends on playstyle. Mr. Savage is one of those players who's widely considered one of the greatest solo players in the world. He's dragged up DreamHack Anaheim placements amongst other consistent solo placements across his career. His playstyle is perfect for solos. He's quick, he's sneaky, he's able to get out of bad situations throughout an endgame and able to find those eliminations that are so important. He's a true solo player. Now his playstyle into duos doesn't translate, but not as well as it does into solos, I believe. Now you combine this with an inexperienced duo whose main focus now is following you without a single doubt, and all of a sudden you're allowing the solo player to succeed at what they're doing best, finding eliminations, being proactive, and making every single decision. And that worked.
Yeah.
Nice.
Nice. Yeah. Nice.
Nice. Here you come. Dead. Yeah. Dead.
Come finals, this playstyle worked to relative success as well, allowing them to place top 5 here and there, where at some point they even broke the top 10. And going into the last game, well, they were top 10 at that point, and unfortunately things didn't go too well from there, but there was potential to be made here. But was it all a duo teamwork? Well, in the finals, a lot of that was missing. Wasn't too many things you could find. The endgames weren't really much to be desired for, but they did make it into those endgames. Realistically though, a lot of this had to have been the Mr. Savage show, especially considering his insane solo clutch to get them that second place one of those games. And this is completely fine. We are all used to Mongraal being the star of the show, but him in the supportive role now allows Mr. Savage to make plays, allows him to make plays in different directions. He doesn't have to be the main one fragging all the time. So where do we go from here? Well, if they've done it once, they can do it again. During the Performance Evaluation Cup, they proved once again they were capable of qualifying. Unfortunately, they narrowly missed out on the qualification by a random last match mistake, which lost them those extra placing points that would have qualified them to the finals. So now we've gone back-to-back finals with almost qualifying, and it's showing improvement and showing progress. Our Duo Cash Cups and Performance Cups the same as the FNCS. FNCS Grand Finals is one of the most prestigious achievements a player could ever have. The pinnacle of Fortnite, packed up to 2 days and 12 games of Fortnite action. With Fortnite's rise in popularity this season, we've seen record-breaking attempts of players participating in tournaments, especially in EU, where we've had over 400,000 players playing in a solo victory cup itself. Damn. Now come the largest and most prestigious tournament ever, now we're running into a problem for this very inexperienced duo. The FNCS format of Chapter 4 Season 3 relied on 3 sole weeks of FNCS qualifiers, with each one presenting you with valuable series points. Those series points added up put you on a leaderboard called the Series Points leaderboard, and let's just say that the consistency required in order to qualify within the Series Points leaderboard was absolutely insane. In order to qualify to an FNCS Grand Final, there were no heats in the season, it was pure series points, and you needed to get top 50. Now, for that season specifically, you needed 810 series points to qualify, which is equivalent to making 2 FNCS weekly finals, which gives you 670 series points, and then placing 150th in one of the semifinals in those final weeks, assuming you didn't do well in any of the finals. With an increased player pool now and the popularity of Fortnite rising again, well, we're looking at ridiculous numbers to even make it through into the FNCS Grand Finals, let alone qualifying past Opens. If we had 400,000 people playing a solo victory cup, I can only imagine how many duos are going to be queuing up for the FNCS in January next year. We've seen the fall of many good and competent players through this rigorous system, but we've also seen the uprise of other players. So there's always a chance. So could Mongraal and Mr. Savage qualify to an FNCS Grand Finals? Well, if they promise to do the work that they said they're going to put in, then I'd say they could very well do it. But just be prepared for a long and treacherous journey and perhaps some disappointment, because it's not easy.